Hello YouTube, Chris the Frugal Audiophile with you. Welcome to my first review in just over a month. I've been having some health struggles and so just haven't felt like making videos, but I'm on the mend. I'm doing okay, so it's time to film another review. And today, what I want to review for you is a product that I have not seen too many of the major YouTubers reviewing. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's not high profile enough for them, or maybe it's just not on their radar. I'm not sure. Well, I'm certainly not a major YouTuber, but I want to take my time and review for you the iFi Zen Air DAC. But before we get into that, please like this video if you enjoy this content and be sure to subscribe to my channel. So here you have the Zen Air DAC before you, and I want to talk about design and specs. The Air DAC is about 8 inches long by 4 inches deep by about 1.5 inches high. So if I pick it up here, actually I believe this is 6 inches. Yes, this is 6 inches, 6.8 inches. So it's not actually 8 inches. It's 6 inches long. It's very light, very compact. More on why it's light in just a minute. And it weighs 350 grams or 0.694 pounds, so about 1/7 of a pound. And one of the cool things about this device is, one of the things that iFi really touts is the analog volume pot. And I'm not sure if that's completely 100% accurate. I don't really know, but it's a good volume pot and I do like it. And this is basically a plastic housing. There's a few parts that are metal, like of course the RCA connections. I believe the volume wheel as well. When I touch it, it's a little bit colder than the rest of the unit. So I think that the only parts that really are metal are, of course, the internal, some of the connections, and the volume wheel there. All right, so to begin, I want to look at the DAC's specs, and then we look at the headphone amplifier specifications. This is a Burr Brown DAC. Now, some of you are going to hear that, and you're going to automatically write this device off, because I know that Burr Browns are not the most popular DAC chipsets out there. Some people really like them, some people do not as much. It's an okay DAC, and you can see a list of some more specs there on the screen. One thing I want to highlight is the signal to noise ratio is 113 decibels, and the total harmonic distortion is 0.04%. Those are pretty good specs. Now, of course, those specs can be spun a little, but starting off the bat, those are good specs. And then if we look at the supported file formats, you can see them on the screen there, but there it'll tell you the PCM, which is basically computer audio, 32,384. So you're talking high resolution files. Yes, it'll do MQA and DSD and all those alphabet soups of initials, but it has all the things in it, making it a high-res DAC if that matters to you. Next, let's consider the headphone amplifier and its specifications. You can see there on the screen its power. It's not the most powerful amplifier in the world, and that is because you are primarily going to be running this DAC off of USB, so that only gives you 2.1 amps of power to draw from. So it's not a whole lot of power. Now you can add an external AC adapter. I'm not sure what that would do to the headphone amplifier. I could not find any figures on that on the internet. Maybe it's out there, but I did not see that. I would think that it would increase the power, because now you're not just running off of USB power, but you're running off an external power supply. And iFi will sell you their power supply for $70 if that really interests you. But oof, that's almost 70% the cost of this device. So I don't know. I mean, I just throw it out there. There's certainly other options on the internet. Just be careful that you get the right voltage and amperage. Again, it's got a very good signal to noise as well as total harmonic distortion values. Finally, this DAC amp cost $100. So really on the cheaper side of DACs, especially these days. It's right in that value range where you start going from, just an inexpensive Behringer or Prozor or those really cheap Fio DACs to a more substantial, higher quality system, and I believe that's what you're getting with this here. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go on. So what was the assignment for the iFi Zen Air DAC? Well, it was to be an outstanding DAC headphone amplifier at an affordable price. Well, how to do on that assignment? Let's first talk about what it gets right. I would say that this DAC produces quality sound. Just so you know, the system I'm using this DAC is PSB Alpha P5 speakers, an Emotiva Mini X A100. It's the older version of their A2M or Bass X mini amplifier. Then I have a Bic F12. Finally, I have it connected to a mini DSP to use for bass management and crossover functions. My source is an M1 MacBook Air running high-resolution files from Apple Music. The first thing I did notice was a very low noise floor. I mean, it is so low that my ears couldn't even hear it. Now, they're getting a little old, so they don't have like the youngest of ears, but I could hear a noise floor on songs that had that there. But when I put my ear up to my speaker running this DAC, it was, to my understanding, completely silent. And so that's a really good sign right there. Now, I fired up the song Cave by Yoshi Hirakawa, and it sounded as though I was inside the cave. And the echoes, the instruments that he was using, all of his little stem tracks there, they were just surrounding me, and I felt as if I was there with the performers as they played there in that cave. So I was very impressed with that. Next, I played Lose Yourself to Dance by Daft Punk and Pharrell Williams. And the first thing I noticed was very taut, punchy bass. Now, I know that some of this is going to be equipment dependent, but you'll see here in a minute where I'm going with all of this. So the bass was very, very punchy, and Pharrell's voice was very clear, if not just a little bit unnatural sounding. And again, that could be the track or it could be my speakers, but I think part of it was the DAC in this situation. But overall, I was very impressed that I was actually moved to dance. I was giving myself to dance as I was listening to that song. Again, when I listened to Mango Tree by Zac Brown Band featuring Sarah Bareilles, vocals sounded just slightly unnatural. There was just a little bit of a harshness to them. It was not substantial or certainly not unlistenable, but it was there. Again, it could be the track. So my conclusion from all the music that I listened to, and I listened to this guy for a long time, not just those 3 tracks. I played many tracks, some of them over and over again, tried a couple different speakers, and my conclusion is that the Zen Air DAC produces neutral sound. It does not color the sound, it does not take away or add to the sound profile that is in a given track. It just gives you what is there. It really doesn't sound that much different than my previous DAC, the Emotiva Little Ego. So I think that's a good sign. This is not a DAC that's going to all of a sudden make your system sound like it's now costing you multiple thousands of dollars and that you have like the world's greatest DAC. No, but it's a good DAC. It produces good, clear sound. I think that's one of the best things about it. Now, I do like the appearance. I kind of like the spaceship look that you are getting here. It's iFi's kind of signature look. Of course, there are other DACs that are more expensive DACs are made out of metal. This one is a largely plastic housing, but still you can see the iFi heritage in the Zen Air DAC. Also, I like the gold volume knob. I like having a DAC with a volume knob on it. I find that handy. Also, I can attest that the headphone amp works just fine. I plugged in all the headphones that I have. I have the Schiit 9500s, the monoprice retros, as well as a pair of Status Audio headphones. I plugged them all in. They all sounded normal. Nothing to complain about there. So although it may not be the most powerful headphone amp, especially running on USB bus power, it still is a decent amp overall, and I can give it props there. And the final thing I like about the Zen Air DAC is the price. $100 is a pretty good price for what you are getting here in this system. But now let's talk about what it gets wrong, and we have a few things to discuss here. First, I'm not a big fan of plastic housing on my AV gear. I know that's being a little bit nitpicky, but I just prefer metal housing. You know, I have DACs and amplifiers around the house that cost less than this one with a metal housing. I know that's not what you're paying for here. You're paying for the iFi name and the quality components inside of it, but I would like to have seen a metal housing on this unit. Something else that kind of bugs me about this unit, and another area in which I had to remove some points is that it disables the volume control on my keyboard when I'm using it with my desktop. And that is kind of annoying. I mean, it's not a big deal because the volume knob is right there. I mean, that's why they put one on it. But sometimes it's nice just to be able to quickly control the volume while I'm using my keyboard, or mute my audio, because the only way to mute the audio when using this DAC is to just turn the volume completely down, which can be done, but again, shouldn't have to be that way. Something else that is a bit of an issue, I didn't take off a lot of points because it does have its merits, and that is X-Bass. When running X-Bass while using speakers and a sub, it's just too much. To me, it sounds like it almost doubles the bass that you get out of it. I'm sure that's not what exactly is going on here, but it does seem to be too much when you're using a sub. Now, if you're not using a sub, you have bass light speakers, it might be okay. And where I found it actually to be helpful was with headphones. We all know that the Schipp 9500s are great headphones, especially for the price, but they're a bit bass light. When I enabled the X-Bass on those headphones, it actually kind of brought them to life. It made them more fun. They might not have been neutral anymore, but they were more fun. When I was listening to some of the songs I talked about before, there was more punch in them, and they had definitely seemed to sound more like when I'm just listening to speakers only on the Schipp 9500s. Especially while listening to Intergalactic by Beastie Boys, that bass line that is supposed to be there is often missing when using the Schipp 9500s, but with X-Bass, it brought it back. So I guess that's kind of a lose and a win for the X-Bass feature of this device. I guess we'll just call it a wash, and I don't really take off any points. But finally, an area in which I am going to take off a lot of points, and that is the fact that the headphone output and the speaker outputs run simultaneously, and there is no way to run them independently of one another. When I first plugged in my headphones and I put them on, I'm like, wow, there is so much bass to this. It sounds like I'm running a sub, and I didn't even have X-Bass on. Well, it's because I was running a sub, and also my speakers, and also the headphones all at the same time. And so I noticed that right away this was going to be the case, and I was like, well, maybe there's a setting, or maybe I did something wrong. Nope, nothing could be done. That's just the way that the unit operates. I actually had two of these units. The first one I had went bad. I don't know if that's a QC issue or something to be concerned about, but this one's been just fine. However, they both exhibited that same feature or flaw, if you will, in playing both outputs at the same time. So I believe this is just how the device operates. And this makes it, in my opinion, a single-use device. You're either going to use it as a headphone amplifier or a DAC for your speakers to control the volume. You can't use both, at least not easily, unless you have some way to turn off your speakers and or sub, which I do. I can just unplug my mini DSP, and now I don't have any audio from my speakers and sub, and I can use the headphones. However, I shouldn't have to. That shouldn't be the case. And what if, say, I'm using low sensitivity headphones, I gotta turn the volume way up, and then I plug in the speakers, and all of a sudden, they're distorting and it's causing damage to them. Probably not the best of ideas to use it that way. So it really is a single-use device. So having said all this, what is my Frugality grade? Well, this was a challenge because the Zen Air DAC, it really does have some good features and it sounds good, but there are also some glaring issues, in my opinion, with the unit. And I wasn't sure what to give it. And I finally came down to a C. That's just, average. It's not like terrible, but it's not outstanding. And so it's going to get a C Frugality grade. That doesn't mean that it wouldn't be right for you and you shouldn't pick it up, but for myself, it's just not going to work. And I think I've already kind of gone into why that is, but the inability to switch between headphone and speaker output is just pretty much a non-starter for myself, and a big reason why it receives a C grade. But now as we get into recommendations, maybe it will work for you, because my first recommendation is if you are looking for a DAC for a single-use purpose, either you need a DAC headphone amplifier or you need a DAC for your speakers and you want to be able to control volume, then this might be the right option for you, especially in that $100 price range. There are other options out there, but I think that this is a good one if it fits the bill for you. However, if you want to be able to switch between headphones and speakers and you don't want to have to use them at the same time, then you're going to have to look elsewhere. Actually, a good option would be the big brother to this one, the regular iFi Zen DAC version 2. However, it does cost more at $190. I actually think iFi realized they were charging too little for the previous version of the Zen DAC, so when they made the version 2, they upped the price, and then they added this Air line because they also have a Bluetooth receiver, a phono preamp, and I think there's also maybe just a regular headphone amp. I'm not sure, but anyway, I think that they realized they were charging too little for that, so they charged more, and then they added this line. Now, the regular Zen Air DAC does have more features. It has balanced headphone out, it has balanced speaker outputs, it's got a metal housing. Overall, it's a nicer unit. I'm not saying that it would sound any better. I don't know. I haven't experienced that for myself, not having one here, but I would imagine they would sound very similar. And there also are other options from the likes of Topping and SMNSL, kind of close to this price range here. But it's getting harder and harder to find a good quality DAC and headphone amp combo these days. So if that's what you're looking for, this is your price range, and you don't mind the feature set, give it a shot. So do you own the iFi Zen DAC Air? What do you think of it? Do you agree or disagree with my review here? Does the fact that it plays both the headphone and RCA output simultaneously bother you as much as it does me? Maybe there's some that just don't care. I'd love to hear about it down in the comments below. Well, I thank you so much for watching this video, for spending some time with me here today. I hope that you are doing well. And remember, frugal doesn't necessarily mean cheap.